Welcome to Conversations with K and J. We're your hosts, Kayla and Janae.
In here, we talk about love, life,
and lessons learned. Hey guys, welcome back to Daily Doses of Conversations with Kayla
and Janae.
In today's energy, we are looking into the message of we are made of many energies. We are happy, we are sad, we are joyful, we are angry, we are excited, we are bored, we are loving. Every human has the capacity for every feeling and emotion, but so often we choose to identify with one. Every day is a new day, and we never know what we're going to get. But that's the beauty of being human. We're like a mixed bag of emotions, never knowing what we'll pull out. What you think?
I think that's saying that we never know what our day is going to be like and how we're going to react to things. But we also do have a choice of how we let that affect us. Like, you can choose to be happy, or you can choose to be annoyed and bothered by the day. Mm-hmm. But the day is not going to be just one way all the time.
Right.
Like, you're not always going to be in a storm and feel like every day is depressing. You're not choosing to be happy through that depression, you know?
Right. So I think that's perfect with what's out. So we have temperance to clarify that. And temperance is speaking on Sagittarius energy. And when we think about Sagittarius season, we are rounding off and completing the year, right? We're celebrating, but also closing out cycles that push us into the new year or getting ready to, right? And just with what you were saying, you were talking about choices. The Two of Wands is here to clarify that. And Janae doesn't know the cards like that, so
I have no clue. I'm really just rolling off like Kayla and what she says and off the cards. Just by looking at the photos, that helps me a lot.
And her intuition that she never credits.
Yeah.
Anyways, so temperance is about balancing the mind, the body, the soul, right? Getting things into alignment. And I feel like with what you said, to back off of that or to piggyback off of that. There you go. This is knowing that with these mixed emotions, every day may not be the day that you have to tough it through as well. Like, it is about finding the positivity and continuing to move forward. But for some of us, that may be what has been throwing the alignment off, trying to always put the best foot forward and place it in the background and feel like, I have to keep moving, which you do, but you can't allow yourself that time to pull back, because with temperance and the Two of Wands is really making me feel like there are big choices and decisions that are headed your way. And in order for you to be more stable and grounded, but also committed to the consistency that you have around what you're seeking, this is about checking in with yourself. I think a lot of our messages in the recent past have been around checking back in with you. So
in your feelings about
your feelings, right. So I think that there could be, or there already are, a lot of mixed emotions coming up for you in your day-to-day reality. And maybe it's just checking in to, one, see if those feelings and emotions really even belong to you. But two, if they do, then it's identifying and finding the root cause of where that comes from and how you can handle that moving forward.
If certain emotions are even worth like pondering on throughout your day, like being mad at something that happened in the drive-thru. Like, are you mad about that all day, or you just gonna like keep it moving?
Right. I always give the advice in private sessions to feel your feelings, especially like in love readings that I get. Though people come to me already knowing that their person has been deceptive in some kind of way, or, lied or cheated, I think that reassurance of like, yeah, this is really not something healthy for you, really kind of sets people back emotionally. But that being a confirmation, people like to go act upon that reading. And I always advise people to sit with it and process it and let themselves go through their emotions or whatever comes up, because you don't want to react, you know, before you have really balanced things out in your mind, because then you end up prematurely closing a cycle that you didn't fully learn the lesson of. Right. So it's not to say that you need to continue being with people who are deceptive towards you, but it's making sure that you are in a balanced place to make that choice or that communication so that it can close out and be done. And then it's not looking like at yourself and being upset that you're feeling sad or angry or used or humiliated. Whatever this could be revolving around, it doesn't just have to be relationships, but this is knowing that going through it, again, just like the podcast yesterday, going through the process of how you feel and what you think is ultimately going to be the key that sets you free in a more grounded and balanced way. When we sit up here and deny our feelings or our thoughts is when they usually come back to haunt us in one way or another. Right? It kind of makes me think of Long T Standing. She left the comment on Evolving Spiritually, where she asked the question, if you laid out your thoughts and your emotions on the table for everyone to see, would you still be seen as beautiful? And I think some people don't even check in to
see how they are being perceived or how they showing up.
Yeah, or really what lies dormant within them, you know? Because there are people in this world who really think that they're good people. Without checking in and realizing, like, some of those thoughts and emotions that you're holding on to really don't make you a good person. You're just putting on this cover up and trying to pretend as if you're okay or you're fine with this person or this situation or this group of people, when in reality, like, under your breath, you're mumbling something just like totally ugly.
Right. Wishing bad.
Yeah. And so I feel like that question kind of goes into this discussion a bit, because when I read it, it did make me wonder within myself. And I was telling Janae that I don't feel like my thoughts and emotions are evil or would not make me not beautiful, because I don't hold that energy within me, you know? But I do think that some of my thoughts and emotions can be ignorant or...
Right. When you asked me that question, I said the main thing to me would be if you're a person who puts actions behind your thoughts. If you're a person that
well, give the racism example. I think that will be the clearest way for people to see
that in racism, the definition of racism is like you having the ability to what is the word that I'm thinking? Oppress someone. Like you have the intentions to stop someone from having what they should have, right? So if you are that person who thinks wicked stuff and be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna stop them from getting this, instead of a person that may just, like you said, be ignorant, being discriminatory. Like, you say wicked shit, everybody does, but you don't think that I'm gonna go out to the world and
put that on anyone.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But I also think that there's just, well, yeah, I guess there's acting on it as well. But a lot of people take things in such a, I don't know, just it gets ugly. It's what I feel like. You know, I don't look at people and think ugly thoughts. Like, I might think somebody is ugly. You know, that's what I'm saying. That's the ignorance. That's what makes people be like, damn, Kayla, you know, but I'm not going to go and tell that person like, oh, you're ugly. Like, I'm not going to go hurt no one's feelings. I'm not, well, that's what you're saying. Acting
That's what
on
I'm saying. Acting on it. Right. You're an ugly person. If you, you don't think, you're not going to like everything. Everything's not going to be beautiful to you. But if you're going to go out your way to go up to somebody and be like, I don't think you're attractive. Like, you are an ugly person.
Yeah. I had to use that example because it's real. Like, if anyone sits in this life and says that they look at everything in this world and think it's beautiful, like, I mean, not that you cannot find the beauty within things, but It's just like, again, I'm not going to say anything like that to affect anyone else's confidence or their reality
to tear
or
down,
their life.
Yeah, to
you
tear
know?
somebody down. That's an ugly person. That's a person who, and it's always sorry, but it's always the person who gives off such like bubbly energy. You always like want to compliment you, and in the back of their mind, they sitting there like they turn around and say things under their breath.
Right. So with the racism example, I think what we were saying is like it's different if a person, like, for example, if a white person sees a black person and they're like judging them, thinking that they have no money when they come in the store, right? It's one thing for a person to then follow them around the store and make sure they're not stealing, versus another person who is willing to, I don't know, discount something or give them something or help them to purchase it. Like,
Right.
Does that make sense?
Right.
It's a difference between the thoughts. Like, I think that people are going to have ignorant thoughts.
Right, because you give me like, what made you think I couldn't afford this?
Yes.
Whereas somebody just like don't want to service you because they already made up in their mind that you
just
you
don't
can't
have
afford it. Right.
Yeah. You know? So, I mean, it doesn't have to be a black and white thing, but I just use that example so that it could be a more surface level visual thing for us to understand. So when we connect that back into this reading, when you are applying that to yourself, this is kind of giving off the Seven of Swords type of energy. What things are you telling yourself or believing within yourself that really are not true to you? And so, again, throughout like a relationship, this is a person saying like, oh, I'm still in love with them, but really they're ready to move forward into something more or
Right.
someone new, right? You're lying to yourself by saying this is still where I want to be when you know that you desire to be elsewhere. That's the Seven of Swords that's wearing this mask, which ultimately takes things out of alignment, out of balance. You start losing yourself or losing, your flow within where you're going or growing in
Right.
some sense.
Right. That can be the same for even someone who does like always about positivity and at the end of the day they go home and they're like sitting in a dark room. Like that is exhausting. Like it's okay not to be okay. And it's okay to be angry and mad, but it's also like how long you're gonna sit in that feeling till you decide that it was like it wasn't even worth me feeling that way.
Yeah. You definitely have to go through it and find an understanding for yourself in order to set yourself free from it. Because like I said, a lot of thoughts could come off as judgmental or ignorant, and it's not like stopping yourself there and being like, oh, I'm a bad person because of that. Like, it's digging deeper and trying to figure out like, well, where does that perspective even come from? Like, why did I even take that on? And then it's learning that lesson to either look at things differently and make better choices, or I don't know, just sum yourself up as an ignorant, evil,
Ugly person. Right.
Yeah, person.
Right. Be honest with yourself.
Yeah.
Some people just refuse to be honest. Like you just an ignorant, nasty person, and that could be based off of how you grew up, what you learned, what you always expect from the people that are around you. You didn't putting that on people outside of you that have nothing to do with it. Like you gotta sit and be honest with yourself. Like, why am I just an ugly, nasty person?
But I think for people that resonate with our energy and are part of our collective, that may actually be the message inside out. Like maybe we are putting the perspective of how we see ourselves onto other things and people that we should just call it like it is. I think it's one thing for us to realize like, oh, I was ignorant in that moment, or I said something without thinking, and you will go work on yourself and make sure you don't do it again. Whereas we keep giving things and other people the benefit of the doubt and still like met with the same type of energy or response, and needing to just wrap it up and call it what it is and no longer linger in this energy that consistently keeps throwing things off balance. You know, I feel like through what we were speaking on from my reading, it's something I've been putting off that has been throwing my alignment off within myself.
Right.
And without going into much detail around this, this is something that is based around communication that is needed on my end. And I felt like by not making any communication, I was standing in my power, which that worked for so long.
Right.
You know, our defenses and the things that we put up in order to protect us, like, they serve a purpose. But once that season is over, we have to disassemble that defense and face things straight on.
Right.
And with what you said made me think of a friend from a few years ago told me, well, they asked me, like, why do you continue to give other people control and power over you by allowing them to come in and out of your life and tell you what things are, instead of you just speaking up and letting people know what things are and taking your control back or your power back and ending it there. You know, it's like leaving doors open, doors that you know hurt you.
Right. I think lack of communication or not communicating with somebody when it gets like tough is the observing stage, like you said. Like when you tell somebody that somebody's doing something deceptive and they want to just like react off the bat and they don't have that moment of like observing everything and reviewing
themselves.
all the details.
Yeah.
Like you need that stage to then know how you should approach the situation. And sometimes when you just like go silent or ghost on someone and you haven't spoken up to say what needs to be said, to close that door, it does still leave that door open for people to believe that they can come in and out or continue to say what they want to say, and you just standing on this ground like, oh, I'm just not going to respond. But you have to then face that. Like we talked about that the other day, like going through the dark.
Yeah.
And facing it head on and just setting that boundary so you can close that door. Because then people show you that they're never going to change, or people show you that they are willing to change for you.
Right. Yeah.
And they are willing to go with your boundary that you set, or they're not. And then that helps you decide if they're willing to, if you want them to stay or go. Close the door or let them go on the journey with you.
Well, I think with this temperance energy, it is making me think of a message that I got the other day that was saying something around how the things that we are desiring is ultimately not like aligning with what we're thinking and how we're feeling. And that really just did not make sense to me. But I feel like as the days have gone by, the message is starting to become more clear. Again, it's like, are you running from yourself? Are you running from situations? Are you running from emotions and things that you do need to thoroughly sit in to get out of, to close out? Because a cycle can close, right? We can have the wheel of fortune and the world. We can have these cards that symbolize completions and closing out, but that doesn't mean that you won't be looping in an emotional sense that brings in the memories and the nostalgia that then attracts those situations or those people back into your life in a whole different way. Just because one cycle closes out doesn't mean that it can't repeat and have a different appearance, right? That's why we say, like, in love relationships, you can end a relationship with a person who lied and cheated on you, but if you still didn't learn the lesson of self-worth and value and setting those boundaries, you're just going to meet another person that's still going to take you for granted and walk all over you in some sense, right? It'll be a whole different face and person and experience, but the same old lesson.
I mean, that happens in relationships a lot too. When you do react and you don't take that moment to sit with yourself, you approach that person and tell them what you know, and then that gives them time to tell you a lie, and then you fall right back into it because then you start questioning yourself. You didn't take the time to speak with yourself and your emotions
So that
before
you have
you
something
went
firm to stand on.
Yeah, you didn't have nothing to firm to stand on, so they just came right back at you, and then you didn't know how to handle it, and then you fell right back into it, right? And then that's why it ends up happening again.
Well, yeah. So that makes even more sense with what's under temperance. The King of Pentacles. This is about like standing firm, being about your business, and that doesn't have to be like career, but the King of Pentacles is like the CEO, like the owner and the builder and the creator of like a business per se, just to use that as an example. Like that person, they're not going to play around about their business if they really have worked their ass off to get to where they are. Like, you're not going to let anybody just come in and screw you over. You're not going to play about that. It's a time and a place, right? And so being in this King of Pentacles energy means that you have to not be afraid to fire people, not be afraid to let the things go that can ultimately like ruin the reputation of what you've built. And in this case, it's going to be you and yourself and everything that comes along with that. So this is like a newfound confidence, but also it being backed up with legit reasoning. You know, maybe in the past you felt like you didn't have much to lose because everything that you were building or gaining was connected to these people and these things or these thoughts that you've been struggling with. But this is taking the moment to realize that you're not connected in the same ways to those people and those things and those environments, that you've went off and built something for yourself from the ground up, and you have everything to lose. And anybody that comes in to threaten, you know, the security or the safety of that is a problem that needs to be handled. You know, I mentioned a few podcast episodes ago that when I was working in hospitality and I was in HR hiring people, and they would pull my heartstrings because I would hear about the struggles that they're having financially or at home, or how they haven't been able to find a job. And then I would hire those people, and they would come into work and they would slack, and they would like not even be good employees.
Right.
And they would get fired just as quick as they got hired, because at the end of the day, you cannot come into a business and like bring it down. That's
right. But if you would have let them stay, then it would have just been a reflection of you, and then that would have put your job on the line, because then they're like, Kayla don't know how to hire good people.
Right.
You know?
Right. And that's what I hate about like management positions, or even like the president, you know?
Right.
They always have to take the fall for other people and other things. You know, it's kind of like even coaches that walk onto a new team and they're dealing with like, I don't know, what do you call them? Like teammates? Well, they're the coach. Players that other people have picked.
Right.
You know, and then they get the slack if those players are not like working hard because they're used to an old way of being.
And then you got to be the coach to be able to cut people.
Yeah.
You're like, I got to cut them. I didn't bring them in, and I'm going to stand firm that I'm the coach and I know what's best to keep this program going and being successful. And if I got to cut people, I'm just going to have to do that.
Right. And I said the president because, I mean, all of that is its own situation. But just visually, I think that's when I learned the lesson of, like, you will get held accountable for other people's choices and mistakes. And it was kind of like whatever Obama was facing when he was in office the first few years. That was really like him cleaning up whatever Bush had done before. Right. You know?
And he also got all the blame. Like, then people just forgot that Bush
Right,
was
that's what I meant.
before.
Like, it kind of sucks. So you have to be in a place of setting boundaries and not allowing anything to come in and faulty the foundation that you're building. Right? And so, I don't know, just to clear that up, I'm not standing behind anything political. I'm just saying that as a visual, that is kind of what people like to do. They like to put you in positions to where they want you to clean up other people's messes, including their own. And when you can not do that in a timely fashion, then again, they have no problem taking you out of that or placing the blame on you. And so this is just being in a place within yourself and your own foundation that you don't allow other people to bring their mistakes or their mess or their burdens into your foundation and start making it faulty.
Yeah, making sure that everybody's playing their role, like not giving total control to somebody and not overseeing it, right?
Right.
So it's checking in with everybody. Make sure your friend is being a good friend. Make sure your boyfriend is showing up in the relationship like he should be showing up.
Make sure that you are choosing people and things that support what you're building and what you're growing into, and not trying to steer you away from that, because the King of Pentacles is connected to the Eight of Pentacles, which talks about commitment, consistency, seeing something through, because you're almost at the finish line. Like, though you may not see what you've been building something. Like, he has 8 pentacles, right? And it's kind of what we talked about in the collective last week on YouTube, is that there are about to be big changes in your life, and people are going to come out of the woodworks wondering, like, how did this happen for you all of a sudden? And it's not going to be all of a sudden. This is something you've been in the process of and being prepared for years now. And so, to kind of finish this off and bring it back together, the Queen of Wands came out, and the Queen of Wands is like mama bear. Like, she don't play about hers. So the things that you are emotionally connected to, that you truly have a care for, you protect that at all cost, right? You're not just gonna, hopefully you wouldn't just let anybody be around your kids and be an influence to your kids. And your kids in this case could be the things that you are birthing into existence, your, again, creations, your company, your foundation, your family, your relationship, whatever this is, it's protecting that at all cost. And also knowing that you don't have to feel bad for doing that. And that's what I mean. When I hired those people, I felt bad for having to fire them, because I knew the struggles and the things that they were going through in their life. But it also balanced out, because obviously you couldn't find a job and was lacking money, because you come in a job and don't take it serious.
Mm-hmm. They
you don't value it.
Right.
Yeah.
To keep it. So they didn't care about their foundation.
Yes.
They didn't care about their money and their livelihood. So why should you? Like, you got to worry about yours and your reflection and what that makes you look like.
Right, because ultimately that's what's going to throw you off alignment. I literally just had a private reading last night where the person asked about, like, how could they go into their next, like, phase of love without, well, they didn't ask without, like, losing themselves, but their answer revolved around them having a fear of losing sight of themselves within a loving relationship. So they had closed themselves off. And the solution is just making sure that you are picking and choosing the things and people that support you, not take you away from yourself, right? In the past, I've picked people who I've always had to change and alter myself for, instead of picking people who were balanced with me, who had the same understanding and perception, who valued life and morals in the same way that I did. Because when you start getting in alignment with people who are not in alignment with you, it's gonna throw you off and take you away from yourself.
And make you feel like what you value, it really isn't that important. And maybe I should,
Yeah.
No, it is important.
There's a compromise within everything, but again, when people hear compromise, that sounds so big. It sounds so burdensome, when it doesn't have to be. Like, Janae and I compromise all the time, and it's just like, it's the lightest of things. Like, again, my favorite example is Janae likes to go to buffets. I hate going to a buffet, okay? I hate having to get up in a room full of people and get food. And our compromise is, if we go to a buffet, my baby makes my plate for me.
Right. If she feels uncomfortable, sometimes buffets can be overcrowded, and it's just like you feel rushed. Not me. I'm very comfortable in a buffet.
She will get up and down and up and
I'm
down.
I'm gonna make my plate and I'm gonna do it. And then when I see that she's like uncomfortable because I done forced her to come to a buffet, I'll be like, all right, I'm gonna make your plate. I know what it is a little hectic.
Right. But you see that compromise, it's a
that's my
buffet.
comfort
It's something
zone.
small at the end of the day. She's not asking me to compromise the way that I show up in this world, the things that I do or that I desire. You know, it's always a great balance. What do you feel like is your compromise with me?
I don't know. I'm such a like get up and go type person, like free flowing, but you kind of like some structure.
Yeah.
So I can like respect that because
Yeah, you do try to bring in that balance.
yeah. Sometimes
work
I'm like,
with me.
just come on, and then sometimes I'm like, all right, I'm being reckless. Like I will literally
That's
get
true.
up and walk in 100-degree weather, and you like, come on now, we're gonna find some compromise in that. Like it's hot outside.
Yeah,
So
or
I'm
we
like,
just
all right.
agree to disagree, and then we do our own thing. Like, oh, well, if you want to walk, you can go walk. I'm going to stay in here and, like, pole or
Yeah, I
do
think I
yoga or
really
something.
had to. I think we've really both had to check ourselves on that.
But again, it hasn't been, like, pulling teeth or anything hard, whereas in previous relationships, for me speaking, I always was the person to be like, oh, okay, well, you know, I'll forget what I want to do. Like, I'll do what you want to do. It was a consistent of, like, losing those parts of myself. So, yeah, by the end of that relationship, I'd be like, what do I even like anymore?
Right.
Because I've let go of so much.
I let go. Right. I let somebody just get me up and do whatever throughout the day, and I had things that I really wanted to do. Like, but I pushed my wants to the side to rip and run the streets with somebody. Like,
Yeah. And so that kind of goes into yesterday's conversation as well. It's just like knowing that some things will go away for a while, but they will come back around when it's right for you. Because I feel like even with you just saying, like, I don't like to just, like, go and do, I was like that back, like, after college, but experiencing that middle connection and relationship kind of made me feel, because they didn't like going out and doing things, it kind of put me in that place of like, all right, I'm just used to chilling at the house and doing nothing, right? But I've been able to incorporate a little more balance within that. And again, trying new things or trying things again will give you a different outlook, because if you're in alignment with the right things and people, it's going to be something fulfilling and enjoying
right.
at the end of the day.
Right.
You know? So, yeah, I guess we will end it there. You got the Knight of Cups coming in after this Queen of Wands. So, really big things about to happen and turn around for you. But it is, again, with this message of needing to make sure you're all on one accord within yourself. Okay? So, nobody can come in and try to pull heartstrings or confuse you and tell you what you want, right? To sum it up, it's like going in the mall. You already know what you're looking for the night out. You already know, what kind of outfit you're seeking. This is not going into a store and letting a sales associate change your mind on what you should buy.
Right.
You don't want no pantsuit. You want a dress.
Right. You don't want no winter coat. You want that freakum dress. You was going out for the
Yeah.
night. You wasn't bundling up like.
Yeah. So that's a big thing, especially for us. Remember? I feel like just recently, like, we will let people influence, like,
Oh
like,
my gosh. Yeah, we would.
We're like, dang, we just need to say no,
Even the driver's like, oh, I know a good restaurant.
Yeah.
That's it. And they're like, no, I mean, we put that we want to go here, and you over here telling us about this restaurant that's next door, and confusing us because
that was it. That was it. We would get in an Uber, and they would be like, "Oh, you should go eat here," and we're just like, because we don't know how to speak up and say
Right.
no. Then they take us to the restaurant, and it wasn't even worth it. And then we're just like, we knew we should have went where
right.
we
And
was
now
gonna
we
go.
gotta walk 2 blocks to get to the restaurant that we was originally going to. Like, sir.
So yeah, stand on what you want and what you desire, and again, the people and the things that are for you will support you. And again, not everybody's supposed to sit up here and say yes to everything that you want, but to the things that support your growth, yes. If it's something that is truly for you, you want people to bring to your attention when you're just doing something reckless or off the wall,
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm gonna leave it there. Just seems to keep going.
Yeah, sounds good. I think we got it. I think we get it.
Y'all got it? Okay. All right. We love y'all. Thank you so much. for tuning in, and we will talk to you in our next one. Bye.